Georgia First Lady Marty Kemp is getting an update from a panel of experts on a topic that she, of course, is very passionate about: fighting human trafficking.
So Atlanta News First reporter Rebecca Schramm is live near downtown Atlanta. So Rebecca, Mrs. Kemp is seeing more progress on that front in her husband's second term as governor. What do you know here?
Well, Lana and Rick, Mrs. Kemp is co-chair of the Grace Commission, and they are meeting right now at the new hotel between Mercedes-Benz Stadium and the Georgia World Congress Center. Take a look. The commission really is a who's who of child advocates and law enforcement partners. This is the first meeting of the year for the commission, so they're updating each other on how they're protecting mostly young women across Georgia from being trafficked for sex. They talked about a bill that her husband, Governor Kemp, is ready to sign if lawmakers give it final passage. It would in part allow for surprise inspections of massage parlors where women are sometimes trafficked. Members also heard from Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr about the success they're having with convicting sex traffickers. First Lady Marty Kemp told the panel she doesn't want to take the credit for any of the successes of Georgia's efforts to fight human trafficking. She's just glad to be able to bring awareness to it.
I got a call a couple of weeks ago from a sheriff down in South Georgia, and he was like, I don't know what to do. We have had this young lady come to us, and she's obviously been trafficked by gangs. She wants to get out of the life. What am I supposed to do with her? And I thought to myself, how great is that? How far have we come? It just kind of gives me chills. That now law enforcement, not to criticize them at all, but they didn't know what they were looking at.
And she says law enforcement and others are starting to realize that some of the people they used to think of as prostitutes really might be victims of human trafficking. Live in Atlanta, Rebecca Schramm, Atlanta News First.